Bruce is, yeah, let's start grabbing his screen. I'm sure most of you know him, but Bruce has been with the Fort Lee office from the start. He's been helped us get the office off the ground. He's been one of the top residential and commercial agents, I think, over the years, doing more and more in commercial, one of the top commercial agents in the area, and one of the best teachers. Hopefully, you'll get a lot out of this session. I encourage you to attend his in-person sessions as well. So with that, it's all you, Bruce.
All right, so before I jump into it, we're going to do land development today, and it's going to be the basics, and it gets into a higher level. What I'm going to be doing is putting something into motion with Al and with the rest of the leadership team for each office to get commercial course training alongside the courses that I teach and some other assisted courses as well with some high-level brokers. So with your permission, I'm going to jump in and just talk a little bit about where we're at with commercial real estate, the residential to commercial agent course that I'm going to be coming through the market centers with, along with the land development course that I'm going to be coming through in Q1 here for everybody to share, learn, grow, educate themselves and earn from, and then also be able to understand where passive vehicles come from the finances that you earn from there and how to make sure that you keep the money that you make and the differences on where you can allocate. So those will be coming through. And also, lastly, we also have a multifamily class that's going to be coming through that I'm going to share with you guys. That's going to be direct from ground up, as well as stabilizing the asset, and then also property management in terms of running the asset, where we see different factors, loss factors and tenants and turnovers on tenancies and things like that that not everybody talks about. We'll give you the lowdown, the information that you're seeking from that, from real life experiences, as well as from designated courses and the training that we've received formally. So those are going to be exciting classes coming through. So stay tuned from leadership for those. I look to help as many people in BCP and around our area as possible with this. It's something that I'm very passionate about. I love land development and I love commercial real estate. So I hope that you guys can share that same passion alongside me and go on a journey that's untapped potential for your commercial needs as well as your transactional goals. Okay. With that said, we're going to jump into land development. Okay, so commercial land development, this is an actual building that you're seeing that we did take from the acquisition stage to the approval stage to the sales stage into the development stage, and it's actually being finished within the next 30 or 60 days as a fully finished, approved, and now leasing out. Our team's going to be leasing it out for 40 units. So we're starting with something. This is real. It's not fake photos. Everything that's associated here is real life experience, the good, the bad, the indifferent, and how we've gotten there. Okay. So there's 7 stages in land development. When you look at it, you have to understand that there's a continuum. It's from the left side to the right side. The left side is literally raw dirt or a building that's broken down or condemned, something that is obsolete. Or it could be something that's maybe a little newer, but the functionality is gone, and the value of that land with what it could be turned into is going to be creating untapped potential for a building developer to come in, get plans approved, and build a beautiful new community that's going to be a mix of different asset classes. It could be something from a big multifamily building to, we're talking about townhouses. Maybe it's senior living, active adult townhouses. So it's a wide range, but it's within the residential and mixed use field that we're discussing today. Okay, so this is stages of development for residential and mixed use courses. It's going to be on our continuum, the 7 stages of development. If you know development, you know that there's stages on each one, along with tasks that are associated with those stages. It's a checklist, just like a contract to close is, and it's something that you have to be able to maneuver like a ship in the night, dodging icebergs. And if you see something, it's sometimes better if you're in the plane to pull the parachute and get out of, because it could be something that's much deeper and you're throwing bad money on top of it, and it can continue to be a money pit. So we want to eliminate those factors from the beginning by using our checklist in proper fashion. Okay.
Hey Bruce,
Yeah.
can I ask you one quick question? And I promise I won't interrupt you again. And hopefully this doesn't throw you off your game. And if you want to cover this later or not at all, but I think one of the questions I get a lot from agents is, they're residential agents, either how do they get into commercial, like just taking a step back, a broader kind of question, how do they get into commercial? Or if they don't want to get into commercial specifically themselves, but, residential agents that are out there, pounding the pavement, come across commercial deals. how can they benefit from that, whether they want to get into real estate, commercial or not? You know, is there a way they can earn money by referring it to you or somebody in their market center, or tagging along on the project and learning from you while still making some money? Like, how do you recommend if I'm, you know, a new agent and I come across and somebody's got, you know, a commercial deal that they ask me if I can help them on, but I'm not necessarily qualified to handle it myself? What would you recommend they do?
Great question, Al. So what I'm understanding is you're a residential agent and you want the steps to take that you can monetize this commercial lead that you have within the
Yeah,
organization.
I guess like two facts. If maybe if I'm the agent who just wants to be able to earn some money, or if I'm like, maybe commercials for me, is there a way I can maybe refer this deal? And I don't know if this is possible, but I hear it all the time. Refer this deal to someone who knows commercial and kind of tag along on the deal so I can learn about it. So maybe the next time I could do it on my own, or maybe three deals down the road, I could, you know, or how do they get into commercial? How do they get on your team or Jason's team, or, you know?
The best thing to do to learn commercial if you're an active residential agent right now, and this is trained in my residential agent to commercial broker course that I will be going through the market centers with training. So please make sure that you see that come through, take it, because it's the exact same steps that I've taken. It's proven, it's got a track record of success, and it's something that I love sharing because of that. So when you talk about that, there's two ways to do it. The thinking is, how much work am I going to be involved in and how much knowledge do I bring to the table? If I'm an agent that's just starting, or a residential agent with no knowledge, what I'm going to look to do, the first thing I'm going to look to do is, one, find a piece of business first. Because you can seek education online. There's formal education with CCIM. There's also YouTube videos, and there's different formal and verified trustworthy avenues for training. So you can always do that on your own. But the best way to do that outside of it is to find a mentor. Find somebody that's done it before that you can then share and ask the questions instead of have the learning curve of the failures on. It's kind of like when John Maxwell says that you stand on the shoulders of giants. Now, actively engaged, that's going to be the difference of where those splits come in. So if you just refer a property to us in the commercial network, you get a 25% referral. If you're going to be actively engaged, then there's going to be interest in learning, as well as actively involved in communications, tasks, checklist items, CCOs, things that are involved with the task. Then what we do is we do a 50-50. I say, if I'm putting my time, energy, effort, and resources in, and you are too, or my team's involved, we split the transaction 50-50. It's very fair. These deals are much larger, and it's also a learning curve, because the best thing I ever learned was 100% of zero is zero. It's absolute waste of time. I've seen a lot of agents think that they have gold mine on deals, only to have it fall short into misery because they cannot get it accomplished. Now, I like the entrepreneurial spirit of wanting people to get ahead and do that, but do it in a good format that will get the results that you need, which is a transaction that closes, that pays for you in the life that you're building by design. Because if you just shed it away and you live in scarcity, you're going to have scarcity. If you have abundance in set and you know that the plan in place is going to work, you can use that leverage to get more referrals from the same seller or buyer that you're working with on that same level. Because if you do great with them, they're going to want you to do great with the other people around. Because when they sit around the campfire and talk about that great story of the land development you sold, you better believe that they're going to mention your name. Or that commercial building that they had that they sold in Hoboken or New Milford, they're going to want to be proud of selling that and use you. It's not the same as a residential transaction. These are life-changing transactions, buildings that have been held with families for 30 years, 50 years, maybe 10. It's about the fact that they're going to remember you. So what you want to do is put your best foot forward. And if you put your best foot forward, you're going to have many deals to come after. And you're also going to learn. Now, part of it is just like a doctor. A doctor doesn't become a surgeon day one out of medical school. They go through the resident training. They take so much debt on and so much learning on before they get to do the surgery. If we only took that approach in real estate, we'd have much higher level designated real estate brokers to provide, which is exactly what we intend in BCP and myself to help you guys, is to make it legitimate so that when you get a chance at bat, that you connect when you hit it. Yeah, we're going to hit foul balls, but I know that we can hit singles and doubles and maybe a home run or two that you guys share your success with others on, and it creates a bigger ripple. Because a lot of our success is from sharing it with others. It's nothing that I've earned myself. My collaborations have been my success, and probably yours as well. So when you look at it from a different angle, the way you're looking at it will change. And I would really encourage everyone not to look at the money on these deals, because if you don't look at the money and you look at the learning curve and you look at the ability to do that again and again and again, the money will never be a question. It's going to be a results-driven business that you're recommended to. And I can assure you that, because all of my clients recommend me to the next one that I get, because they saw the level of professionalism and the results that were driven. So with that said, Al, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it absolutely does, and I'll let you get on. But what I would say is, if you're an agent and you don't have commercial experience, if you want nothing to do with it, that 25% is found money, even better, the 50%, and learn a little bit and, tag along on the deal. So maybe down the road, either option is great. The option that's not great is, and I've seen this so many times over the years, is to get a little bit sort of greedy and say, I don't know anything about commercial, but I'm going to call Bruce, ask him a couple questions, and then think I can go and do it on my own. 100% of zero is zero. You're like Bruce said, it's a different animal. It's if you think residential deals are hard, the commercial deals are 10 times more complicated. So, get somebody who's experienced involved so you can close the deal, earn your commission, and learn a little bit. Don't try to do the deal on your own. You're gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna hurt the company. We're gonna look less professional. If you charge into something that you know nothing about, there's really no downside to learning from Bruce or one of the other experienced commercial folks, and then maybe doing it on your own the next time. But if you've never done it, don't try to cut your teeth and do it all alone, on the very first commercial deal that you come across. So thank you for that, Bruce.
Al, just to piggyback, the learning curve is just too great. The size of the monies is too great to learn on, and securing something would be what you want your client's best interest at heart to be. So really consider what Al just said. We've seen a lot of people come, they take the advice, they try to do it themselves, they fall, they fail, they make our business look not at the highest level. And that's something that we're looking to protect, because our name is our reputation in the marketplace in commercial, and making sure that we have that at the highest level allows us to transact on a smoother and easier format. Not to mention, each market center that's involved in commercial has much higher E&O. The expenses associated with it are not the same as a residential transaction, and they encourage it, but they also pay for it. So you have to understand that there's increased risk and liability associating with Al and the rest of BCP allowing us to be in commercial and doing this. So we take it very serious when that's jeopardized. So please make
The
sure.
last thing I'll say, and then you can really move on, is, I want to address this because I get complaints about some of our commercial guys once in a while, or gals, in that they're not helpful with their time. What I've seen is people will try to do the deal on their own. They'll want to call Bruce or want to call these other folks and have, 4 or 5 conversations that in aggregate might be hours of their time, but not share any of the commission. If that was one person or one time, it's not a big deal. But no, we have 1,600 agents and maybe 10 or 15 qualified commercial people. They're getting these calls constantly. They work on commission. They're not salaried. So you can imagine, you can't expect Bruce or some of these other folks to take 7 hours of their 40-hour work week to give you advice constantly to have nothing to show for it. They're nice people, but they're trying to earn a living for their families too. They'll answer a quick question here or there, but don't expect to keep 100% of the deal and have them as an unpaid consultant. It's just not fair. You wouldn't want to do that. You shouldn't expect them to do that. So, all right, off my soapbox, on with development.
Yep, well said. All right, so 7 stages of development. We have on the left side stages, and then on the right side tasks associated with the development. So running through right from the get-go, it's land banking. What is land banking? It's literally the finance on the project. So as you go through, we're going from top to bottom, and this will make sense on the next matrix that we come through. We have land banking, land packaging, land development, building operations, building renovation, and property redevelopment. Now, if you look at this and you read it, it's basically a circle. Land banking is step number 8 on stages of development because it repeats itself. It's a rinse and repeat. If you've ever seen a building that's dilapidated now, at one point, that building was brand new with approved plans. So that full cycle of the real estate trajectory comes back when you go into property redevelopment. Okay, so understand a piece of property will just be redeveloped. It'll be knocked down and just redeveloped into something new. Why does that matter? Because when the zoning in a town changes, let's say we're in active negotiations right now with areas in zoning that has changed. They've accommodated now for more senior living with the baby boomers coming. The influx of personnel that are going to need senior living houses is a huge requirement for the state of New Jersey right now. So having availability and knowing that knowledge might be able to construct something that you can do deals on. So stay on top of where these markets go, because you can jump and see opportunities that exist from the land development section. So remember, if zoning changes in town, if I'm living in that town, I'm knowing where the zoning changes are, and I'm knowing how could that affect the land value of that. Maybe it turned into something like in Richfield, where they increased on the major corridors to be able to go up to 40 plus feet. So you can have a mixed use building on that. If I own a piece of real estate on Shaler Boulevard or Broad Ave, I'm definitely digging in to see what the value of my untapped potential is. So if you're not doing that in your own properties in town, then it's something that I would explore if you're looking at it, because there's untapped potential there. Another thing about that stage in development is, it just as a tip, always look on the outskirts of the town. The town itself has a mainframe and a master plan that they're looking at. Every single one does. Every single designated town has these plans in place. What it's going to show you is the different areas of use. When you go to the outskirts of the town, the use applicable is generally more flexible. Why? Because it's not downtown. Nobody's driving through that town and sees, there's Tenafly, New Jersey, right at the border of Cresskill. It's not the main downtown area, the historic districts. It's not something that they really care as much about. It's in between towns. It's on a thoroughbred. It's road, so you get more flexibility. So as you get deeper into this and you take my course, you'll realize there's little things that you have to look for that make big things. However, if you check them all off, it could be a great opportunity for you to change your community and advance it one by one. Okay, so tasks on the development, your acquisition and your control, your financing, your market studies and strategies, and I go into depth on each one of these in the internal course. The environmental, your public approvals, the improvements that need to be associated with the property prior to an end developer building. That might be clearing trees away, that might be building roads and infrastructure, to septics, to stormwater management tanks that have become hugely popular in the state of New Jersey now, with the changing economic infrastructure around us, and waterways, and FEMA having some changing on maps. So we have to stay on top of those things. Now, granted, professionals are the ones that best utilize that. You start to figure out patterns, and then you can ask better questions associated with your professionals. So think that the first time that you rode a bike, you fell down, you scraped your knee like I did. The second time, a little better. By the 10th time, you're riding your bike. So know that this is going to be a progress state. Know that there's going to be some hiccups and failure in between when you jump into a land development plot. Just know that if you have some expertise and advice around that's at a high level, you'll be able to maneuver around it or pull the parachute if it's not something that you or your client, or if you're a principal purchasing it, would want to get involved in. Okay, so then transportation accessibility, that's becoming huge in New Jersey because of the infrastructure of not having enough infrastructure for the population growth that we have. Since 2010, we're over 13% of growth in our population. Everyone thinks everyone's moving down to Florida, but they're really not. They're actually, other people are moving into our area more than people are moving out, which is a crazy statistic to know because it doesn't seem like that. Now, what are we seeing also? On that same thing with transportation accessibility, we're seeing the baby boomer generation. With so many millions coming out, they're going to need accessibility and transportation. So those hubs and things like that have become hugely popular, which changes the zonings in the town, which provides opportunities for real estate brokers like ourselves to know about and connect these land developers and these potential projects with. Okay, and again, could be senior living, could be market rate, could be affordable, could be townhouses. The asset class doesn't matter so much as it matters where are you in the state of New Jersey, what is best fitting for that use, and we call it feasibility. So we do a market feasibility on the property. Okay, and then lastly, sales and disposition. Obviously, you're doing all this work to make a profit, change the neighborhood. So what do you have at the end? You have a sales and disposition that finalizes. Okay, real estate development matrix. Moving right along here in an effort of getting through this on time. We have the real estate matrix. At each stage of the real estate development matrix, money is spent, risks are taken, and the value is either created or destroyed. Understand that the developers work down the matrix from top to bottom. The consultants and the real estate brokers move from left to right. So understand, if you're who you are and where you are on the spectrum, and then you understand this is an actual matrix that we utilize, Jason and myself, in our land development business, that gives us the knowledge, along with the scorecard that we use as well to isolate properties of interest. So we're creating a system that we have that can flow properly to be able to do things on a streamlined basis. So in your mind, check the things that make sense first so that you know that you have something, because most of the residential agents mess up by not doing enough diligence. They don't understand what it takes to get to the end of the continuum, and they just in their mind think it's possible. The only way it's possible is if you go through every single step, and your professionals are warning you throughout the entire time, you as a broker, you as a principal, the entire team, hey, this is what we have. We have an endangered species area right here. There's a bobcat at play that we need. And these are items that are real legitimate concerns right now. And there's other items where there's topography issues and things like that. So don't think that it's just a plot of land and you just throw housing on it. It's really not. It's much more. It's a chess game that you have to maneuver through with the town. Okay, so think consultants move from the left to the right, developers move from the top to the bottom. We have acquisition, financing, and everything we just talked about on the matrix for the tasks. Everything on the left side is on the top portion of this, which is land banking all the way to property redevelopment. So you can see that that matrix that we have created allows us to be able to go, where are we at on the property right now? Where are we at in the staging of the development? And we actually put X's and we put dates, and this is how we analyze it, because we know once we have all of this filled out and done, we have a project that's successful. So now what are we doing? We're determining the zoning, the as of right versus major variances. If you're not familiar with these terms, Google them, define them, just know as of right means the way it is right now. So remember, land is only worth what you can put on the land. Unless it's just something that somebody wants to buy a park and use it as just some green grass. In our state of New Jersey, it's what you can be approved for that will give you the value of that property. I.e., if I have a property in Tenafly, I grew up in Tenafly, so I use Tenafly all the time. So if I have a property in Tenafly and I can put one single family home on it, well, what about if that zoning changed and I can put 2 family homes on it? And what about if the zoning changed so much where I had such a big lot where I can split the lot and I could put two family homes on each lot? Well, I might have just quadrupled the property value. It might be from 1 million to 4 million. Now, don't look at the numbers as realistic. Think of the concept of what it is. So if you understand what's as of right versus where you can get a major variance, you can understand the risk that you're associating yourself with or clients with that's going to be in the land development portion of that. Okay. So how do we determine zoning? I literally go through this same schematic every single time on every single property with my team and with Jason doing what we do. We look for where it is. We search the tax records. We go through RPR, CoStar, Crexi, the current property zoning of itself. We search the town zoning maps. We Google it. Thankfully, New Jersey has been very, very technologically advanced with the plans because they have it accessible on 360 Gov. If you Google it, just plans for, Belleville, New Jersey or something like that, or Montclair, New Jersey, code definitions, you can easily obtain them. And it's very in-depth, but you have to understand what you're looking for. And if you do, it's very accessible. Okay, so you go there, Google Tenafly municipal zoning codes. Okay, search zoning of the property to meet where the ordinances with the town are, and then you save it into your digital folder that you created because you're doing research on a property. Every time that you get a listing or you're doing it as a purchaser or a hybrid or JV, you have to do diligence. That folder that you create will obtain all the information that you're putting into this file to be able to funnel it down to make the client say, yes, this is worth going towards, or no, and here's why, or yes, it is if I'm a principal purchaser and developer in that same aspect. Okay, so quick tip, best properties to obtain major variances or to designate in a redevelopment zone are properties on the outskirts of town. I brushed on this earlier. They're the best ones to look for. If you can find one of those, you might have untapped value. You have something that could be built that's bigger most of the time or more grand than, let's say, something that's internally in the middle of town that the mayor drives by every day, or somebody that's on the board knows and understands and maybe goes to their favorite cafeteria or restaurant or something. It's a very locally driven board, so you have to understand those ordinances, okay? The town is less resistant to change and more acceptable to adapting in social and economic environment when it's on the outskirts, right? So moving forward, determining what a developer can build. So now that we understand what's going on the property zoning, and we understand that it is potential for a property to have a sale to a developer, a single family, 20 units, 80 townhouses, whatever it may be, it's the same class code, okay? We determine now what we can actually build. What's the footprint? Okay, and the footprint, we call it as a building envelope. So if you ever heard that wording, especially in the corporate companies, they're gonna ask you what your building envelope size is. That's just a fancy way for saying, what's the footprint? How big is the foundation of that house? Okay. So once your zoning is determined, you can determine what you can build on the land or what you intend on putting on the land and would need variances for, okay? My suggestion with this is that properties in towns that you know and you have an understanding of would be the ones I feel more comfortable for everyone to understand how to evaluate in, because you can get inside information, i.e., well, you know that the councilwoman's Jane that goes to that meat market over there, and maybe you run into her every now and again. And you can simply just ask her, what's the town thinking? You know, and simple information like that. Now, remember, there's back channels to coercion and some illegality. So it's not like you're presenting a project. It's just being a community member and seeing where the town's temperature is on the board. So think of it as I'm being an active community member, which is why I suggest doing communities that you're familiar with, because everyone wants to advance and make their community better. They just want to protect it as well. And protecting it means making sure that other people aren't taking advantage of that area and that need, just for a quick buck. It's not about that. Every time that you go about this, you're aligning yourselves with the master plan of the town, and you're aligning yourselves as a broker to put a feather in the cap that you brought something amazing to this new community. Okay. Quick tip on this. When you look, the most important decision in determining how big you can build is the footprint, the unit count, is how many parking spaces can the property fit, either surface, structure, or assembled together with neighboring properties and municipalities. Northern New Jersey towns require a minimum parking requirement. Every town, even if it is 0. Where does that come into play? Well, we have an active negotiation in Bergen County, and we put it into contract. And it's based on a unit count of 28 units. Now, here's the thing. Based on the town itself, it should be an as-of-right project. But if the town requires some additional parking for guests or for some delivery or things like that, it starts changing the schematics. And what does that do? It changes the unit count. Why? Because the ratio for the towns is the most important. We're overpopulated. We need to make sure that towns have the parking requirements that we require for our society to function properly. Now, granted, whether you agree or you disagree is not my debate here. It's more just to tell you the facts of the way that the municipalities are, so that you can use that to your advantage to know and be educated and smart to say, yes, I can fit enough parking here, and here's why. We see a lot of failure with developers or brokers in development that overproject their unit count. They overproject what they're supposed to be doing, but they don't actually verify and trust where the unit counts are, which is where units per acre come into play per town, which is where the DEP comes into town for setbacks and for rear setbacks on the properties or front setbacks, where you have to have water delineation and certain 50, 100, 300 feet setbacks from there. So things like that that get into the complexity that I teach about will be where you don't know the answers to it. And if you don't know the answers to it, you're guessing. And if you guess with millions of dollars and you fail, that's improper planning. And that's exactly what we're trying to avoid on all costs for this. Okay, so moving forward for your clients, we're calculating the building size on the property. So maximize the footprint of the building. With these ratios you'll see here are based on the zoning. So remember, this is a continuum of each slide to get to the end. So now when we're on this, we know that the zoning is one of these. So R10, one family, mid-rise, and high-rise apartments. We can understand what the minimum lot is, compare it to our lot. Where does that come into relation? Is it big or smaller? And you compare these to each one. Sounds like a lot, but it's not once you get a flow and a system in place. Again, it's the riding of the bike theory. If you ride the bike in the beginning, you fall down, you get back on it, you get better and better. So understand that you're not going to know it. It's going to be drinking out of a fire hydrant, just spilling everywhere. What's going to happen, though, is little by little, you'll see and you'll come to an expert like myself, Jason Trembicki, or one of the other commercial brokers that knows land development, and they'll be able to size it up for you in really good fashion. Now, what does that do? It makes you look really smart because you got the answers that you need, and you also just learned on how to do that. So I'm a very big advocate at mentoring, and very big advocate because I'm a person that is a mentor to somebody else, but also receiving mentorship from others. I seek the same information and knowledge every day that all of you guys are doing, just in different respects, in different parts of my business. So my continuing education is just being passed along, and it's also being received. Okay. So a quick tip, once you have the town zoning code, you can obtain the following for determining the footprint of the building. Okay, area, bulk, and yard requirements. These are going to get to the nitty gritty of the transactions where a lot more professionals are involved with understanding this. This is just kind of giving you the concept of what to know in case you're just doing something that's 1 to 4 families that's really easily attainable. And you can say, hey, you know, that's a single family lot in Cresskill. You can put a 4,600 square foot house on based on the setbacks and the rears. And when you start talking to developers or investors or people like that in that language, they start realizing that you're not just a real estate agent. You're an advocate. You're a consultant that's on this project, and you're bringing value to the table. The last thing they want to do is just have somebody to open up a door or show up at a property that's got nothing on it. You're not of value. So make sure you bring the value that is there, because if they're at a high level conversation with you, you can speak, no, the setbacks are like this. This building has to be based on the comps that we have. A 4,600 square foot footprint is ideal. And here's why. That one down the street sold for 2.8. It had a bigger lot, but it also had a pool. But you want to consider a pool to hit that target number. And when you start understanding the data, the numbers, and what's going on, you can implement it into your business for land development. Building size estimator. Now, I use a program, and this is something that I obtained from CCIM and also from my advanced land designation training. It's something that I would suggest you guys have access to. I provide it for you. I can easily send it or have somebody send it out. Just know that you have to understand the information you have to input. It's if you understand the information that you input, you let it calculate itself, and then you start determining whether or not the risk factor is associated with this project being potential. Okay, whether big or small, it doesn't matter. It could be just honestly a duplex that you're looking to get in Cliffside Park. It's the same format. It's just that it's 2 units, not 200 units or 20 units or whatever it may be. But the same format. Okay. Once you know the zoning, compare the subject property to the bulk zoning and determine the building size you can build with the town codes. Okay. Quick tip on this. Rule of thumb for determining how much parking can be attained on one floor is before thorough analysis, divide the property lot by 400. Why do I do that? Because each property size, it's typically a 9 by 18. What you're incurring on that additional square footage for that calculation is the loss factor that's associated with the beams, with the right-of-ways of taking your car and returning it backwards and then moving it forward, and all that dead space that parking doesn't have that you have to utilize. That number will give you a quick and rough and down and dirty estimate as to where the unit count on that property could be on a more denser suburban Bergen County town or Hudson County town. Okay, and any questions, I'm always here for you to help out. So just moving forward in an effort of time. Al, do we have until 3 o'clock? Am I kind of wrapping up here, or how much time do I have left?
Yeah, I think, it's kind of the democracy. First depends on how much time you have. I think if we can try to, wrap it up by 3, presentation portion, but if you could stay on for any questions after that, that would be awesome. I did commit to having these be over at 3. So yeah, and next time I'll be a little quicker with my portion at the beginning, so we have more time for featured speakers like you.
No worries. We'll run through it. So just continuing forward, we're calculating the value of the asset. Why do we do that? You have to know what the exit is. In building development, the rule of thumb is know thy numbers and know thy exits. Because if you don't have those exits for clientele or for yourself as principal, then you're going to put yourself into a hypothetical situation that you can fail. Now, knowing those things also hedges you, and it also gives you proper planning and preparation for the next steps of it if you're planning on developing it or if you're selling those plans to somebody else. Okay. What do? Left-hand side, we always calculate where we're at. This is going to be operating expenses, going to be income. Top is always gross scheduled. We have a vacancy factor because not every building is always going to have 100% vacancy. So always make sure. Now, tips and tricks that you'll learn in one of my courses is going to be where if you know that you're speaking with a broker that doesn't have a vacancy cost built into something, you already know exactly kind of so to speak, what type of broker you're dealing with. So you'll be able to learn things and shed things because you have to educate as well. If somebody doesn't know that they need a vacancy factor and they're out here selling as a KW agent, it doesn't make us look good. So these educational tip points are going to make you look more professional and allow you to do more transactions. Because the people that are selling these assets know numbers, they know business, and they know exactly what to look for. So if you miss out on something like that, it could be the difference of you getting the listing versus somebody else. All right. expenses associated. Typically, I mean, we just put some, random calculations here. It depends on each asset that you're going to have. Best form and format is always to make sure that you spread the assets to the tenants as much as you can. Okay. Now, what do you do? We projected on a cap rate. This one, cap rate of 5.5%, just around $4 million. Okay. Zoning approval, I'll run through that. It's 3 o'clock. Just know that as you start your journey as a real estate broker in land development, best way to do it in the quickest form and fashion is to co-broke it with an experienced broker who has done this multiple times in great success. Okay. And then at the end, this is the last slide. This is a resolution. Once you do a town approval, you get what's called a resolution, and it's memorialized. This is that document. You go, woohoo, ring the bell, and you got something that's on the map for, 2024. All right, guys, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Bruce Elia Jr. I'm the director of KW Commercial in Fort Lee, and I thank every one of you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Bruce. This was super helpful. And, I just put it in the chat, but I think for some of you who think, wow, this presentation was complicated and specific, it's meant to be that way because you need to be very specific, and commercial deals are complex. So it's all the more reason to partner with a commercial broker, instead of trying to do this on your own. Doesn't mean you can't become an expert. You certainly can. We just want to encourage you to partner with somebody and not try to, have your first deal done all on your own with only a couple, quick calls to a commercial broker. Partner with somebody because there's so much to learn. And this is one small, sliver of what goes on in commercial. There's the multifamily has its own, complexities. Land deals have their own, retail space. Everything is different. So it's like learning, 6 different types of business rather than just one. So if any of you would love to hear any questions you have either on specifically what Bruce covered today or just anything in general, getting into commercial, how you can work with commercial, or if you have a deal you're working on and you want some advice from Bruce or Bob or any of the other experts that we have on the call today. Elizabeth, do you have any questions in the chat or?
No, the only thing everyone was asking for your slides, Bruce. Will you share those?
Of course.
Thank you. And then everyone was asking, when are you coming to their market center? So once we get those set up,
Yeah,
we'll make
we'll
sure
huddle
that
up together with leadership and then we'll put it out for them.
perfect.
Okay, and you're going to be coming in person to all 5 market centers?
Yes.
That's the plan? Awesome. Now, I don't know anything about commercial, and I get commercial questions all the time. I'm shocked that with all these people on here, you finally got somebody who could answer the question. Instead of sending them to me, send them to a guy who knows. So nobody has a question?
Well, I have a question.
We're going to hang up, and tomorrow someone's going to say, well, what about the land rights or the blah, blah, blah? And I'm going to go, why didn't you ask Bruce? Sorry, somebody piped in and I talked over them.
I'm sorry. I have a question. So the question is exactly what you said. We always get questions from people. What about, I want to buy a bar. I want to do this. When do they want to be involved? I mean, because it usually doesn't go very far because we don't have enough knowledge. I mean, I always say I could refer you to someone to work with. When do they want to get involved? They want the person's number. They want to reach out.
When you say they, do you mean when is a commercial broker that you're working with getting involved?
Well, no, like clients will say, start bringing up commercial real estate. And I say, I really don't do that. But, I work in an office where we have commercial realtors and I can get them in touch with you and we could work it out. Never really goes anywhere because I don't have
First thing I do is change the way that you word it.
Okay.
I'd be happy to help you with commercial real estate. My business partner, blank, and I will schedule a consultation with you. What's better, tomorrow at 2 or Thursday at 3?
Okay, so you want to be involved in the beginning. All right, great.
Well, here's the thing. Involving from the beginning will eliminate the hiccups. You can do the involving in the beginning, but you don't know the questions to ask. So the questions are going to lead to the great answers that you need on whether or not the time of the asset is worth it. Because a lot of things that I've uncovered from agents that they didn't know would be saving us time and me time as well, because I'm involving myself and helping out and doing that. And I got to get to an answer quickly. If there's deed restrictions that are unknown, if there's delineated water in the back that prohibits the property, or there's seller information that's being held back that a residential agent wouldn't pick up normally because they see that it's a big deal and they see something. I don't see the deal size. I look at how to get a transaction accomplished from beginning to end. So it could be 1,200,000 or 40 million. The deal has to get done in the same format. So that's where I'd say asking great questions will provide those answers you need, whether it's worth your time.
And don't be afraid to jump in. Sometimes Bruce just makes up words. There's no such thing as delineated riparian rights or whatever you just said.
I went through that today. It was literally one of the biggest things. We're dealing with delineated water, and we have a bobcat scare that's an endangered species that we have to go through, and we have to figure out a way potentially to capture and then release it into a habitable wildness. So it gets into an interesting phase, but the whole point is that it's possible to do. And that's where those checklists and questions come into play, because we can maneuver around the landmines as we see them. But not knowing if the landmines are even there is where it blows up on you.
I want to jump in and say thank you, Bruce. It's Alex. You're saying what we preach every day, you know, and unfortunately with commercial on a residential agent, sometimes we do need those initial questions, and it's hard to navigate without knowing all of it. So I agree with you 10,000,000%. Being involved in the beginning makes our life a lot easier too.
Yeah. And
Alex some of the residential agents take this the wrong way. This is not us trying to say, you know, you're not as good as commercial agents or you're doing it wrong. We're really want to help you, you know, monetize these leads. And we've just seen over the years, people get great leads, but they try to do it themselves and they have nothing to show for it. So, you know, get the experts involved early. You'll learn the business and you'll get paid. You know, when you try to say, I want it all to myself and you don't know what you're doing, it's not, I can understand why you would want to do that. We're not saying that's bad, but it's not going to lead to you cashing a check at the end, which is ultimately what you want to do. And it's not going to get you a client for life. If you start working with somebody and you give them bad information or you don't know the answers, they're not going to work with you again. So if you have a commercial lead, involve somebody that can help you. You wouldn't go and try to, somebody's car was broken and you're not a mechanic, say, oh, let me go in and fix it myself. It's the same thing.
Well said. Well said.
All right. I'm shocked that no one has questions, but I guess you did a great job, Bruce.
Thank you. A couple of things just to add to the mix. And in the commercial sense right now, just leave you at this. If you can figure out a way, debt rates went down a little bit, to keep transactions that were prior, that were kind of retrading with lower pricing. Right now, the markets are getting better. The deals are to be had. So if you felt like they weren't because of debt and all that, it's absolutely untrue. The deals are happening every day. So go after them and don't make limiting beliefs in your mind that it's a time frame of holidays that you can't do it. The best time is to talk about the people and the family and friends you're around about a success you've had, about something else that may lead to that, because a phone call, a conversation could change your life on these levels. So I encourage everyone to get the power inside, get a little courage, talk about some of those successes around those holidays and try to do a commercial deal. Even if it's just one deal in 2024, if every single person on this call, this Zoom, did one commercial deal next year, it would make their lives better.
Absolutely. It looks like Jade, did you have a question for Bruce?
Yeah. So I have a client who's looking for a small, I guess like apartment building, like maybe 6 units or something like that. So I know you're saying to partner with somebody, who has a commercial background. Where do you find these properties? Is there a separate MLS for it? Is it you have to subscribe to Crexy or I forget what the other one's called. Those kind of, where do you find the property? LoopNet.
So
is that
what you're experiencing is that because most of the properties are held back on the commercial brokerage of CoStar. So CoStar is going to be the monopoly that commercial brokers use. It keeps a format kind of like the formality of saying that they don't share all the properties. It's because it costs thousands and thousands of dollars to obtain this from CoStar. Now, Al and the rest of leadership and us and KW great deals for the CoStar and have mitigated the price down significantly compared to other companies and other agents. So we have a huge leg up from that. Just understand that it's that back end data that we pay for that you do a commercial deal. Now, everybody that's on my team, when they get CoStar, it's kind of like when I was on Wall Street and they cut my tie when I got my first account, because it makes you get the business before you pay for the service. So what we institute is the red light, green light on that. If you're going to do a commercial deal, you're going to work your butt off to get it and earn CoStar because you're going to be paying for it. So you want to make sure it. So that is where we bring value, but we also have to have the questions that need to be answered, because once you get those properties, knowing if it's available, knowing the schematics on the deal, there's always something to it That's where we're showing value more. We're not just opening a door and showing a property and saying, buy it. It's a very methodical way of purchasing real estate, and mostly for investments. So knowing financial ratios and knowing numbers is an absolute must. Because when you deal with large sums of money, if people don't trust you that you know what you're doing with the numbers, why would they want to transact with you when they can transact with somebody like myself or somebody else that's at a high level talking about it with them? So earn that respect from them by knowing just some partial information that'll get you. Because all you need to know is enough. And that's the threshold. Once you know enough, you can talk. The details, well, the details of a general, doctor and an oncologist surgeon are going to be different, but they're both doctors. Okay, so speak on that same language. Once you get to that respect level, then they can go into details and you learn a little bit and you ask the questions, because you're not in a phase of embarrassment. You're in a phase of learning and education, and for the good of the property, good of the transaction. So everyone wants to rally around you to make it happen.
But I mean, so this is like a one-off, I usually do, residential. I don't do commercial. So is it better to refer that out or partner with somebody? Like, what do you recommend?
Level of interest.
Planning.
Active. If you want to be active in the transaction where you're running out and you're doing items and you're responding to emails and things,
right.
on a 50-50 would be the best, because you're learning and earning at the same time. And if you just said,
Right.
you know what, I've got my resi business, I don't want to lose track, I've got to focus, I've got a family, refer it out and then just get updates as the emails come out. You're, CC'd on all the emails. It's transparent in that sense. It's just the operational day-to-day items that push the needle forward to get it done wouldn't be landing on you. They would be landing on myself or my team or Jason or Alex or one of the other commercial brokers that are established, because I know, and Al knows, and the rest of the leadership knows, that it's being handled properly. And what we want to do is, what we increase the knowledge and education of the agents, what they're going to do is service the population out there at a higher level and create a better name for us on that commercial level, which will then rise the tides of all boats.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And I'm available just like anybody else here. If you connect with somebody and it works, jump in. They're great people and they're high level.
I saw Elmer had did that answer your question, Jade?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw Elmer had a question. Do we need designation, and is it a separate brokerage? I see Colleen answered. You don't need a separate designation. It's the same real estate license. There is something called KW Commercial that you can join that gives you access to additional tools, but you don't need to be part of KW Commercial to do a commercial deal or to work with Bruce or the other commercial professionals. I don't know, Bruce, if there's anything or anyone else wants to share on the benefits of KW Commercial or not.
Well, just fair warning with everybody, we put ourselves in a little bit of hot water, by being a little aggressive in our marketplace with KW Commercial. It is a designation, just like if you're a luxury agent, it's a designation that's within Keller Williams. We do pay for it and we do get value from it that supersedes that cost substantially. So if you want to be a part of that program, my encouragement is to get a deal, get a listing, get something that's serious. Jump in after where you've earned it, a little bit of red light, green light too. And also use that as an advantage to work with somebody that's at a high level in commercial. Myself, Alex, Jason, Tony, Nick, a lot of different guys here are involved at a high level. So if you attract to somebody and you feel like they can be a vehicle for you to get your goals done, jump on it. We want to encourage collaboration amongst the best here. You're going to learn and you're going to earn. And to me, that's a winning formula.
Hey, Bruce, can you touch on one thing that we get asked all the time? That your commission is not guaranteed in commercial, not like residential.
Yeah, it's a lot more hurdles in commercial. A lot of people have come to me and they're kind of counting the commission already before we even sat down for the appointment. It's a tough one when you deal with that, because we don't come from that as a value-driven company. We're really coming to produce the result, which is going to produce our result. So I encourage everyone to not worry about the size of the deal. Know that it's exciting when you have bigger deals. It's very exciting. Just know the process is the same. You still have to get up. You still have to go through the checklist, and you still got to learn. And I've got a ton of learning to do myself. Every single day I wake up excited to learn, because to me, it's fascinating. I can't believe that we're able to change communities and do that literally in this area. And for me, that's a legacy that I plan on leaving. And for anyone that wants land development, it's there for you to have. There's an abundance of properties. There's way too many in terms of the aspect for 1, 2, 1 million people to get. There's plenty for everyone. That's what I'm saying. So I encourage everyone to start with one. Just do one commercial deal, even if it's a small little deal or a big, large deal. To me, it's not about the value of the transaction. It's the knowledge that you're seeking.
Awesome. Thank you, Bruce. All right. I think we're going to wrap it up. We have time for one more question. If anyone has a question, if not, we'll,
Al, I just wanted to cut in. First of all, thanks, Bruce, for doing this commercial, coverage on development. But, to answer Jade's question really quick, I always hit the NJMLS. Those listings are, they're true. With LoopNet, Crexy, sometimes it's the Wild West. You never know. I see listings there a year later after they've been leased, and there's just a lot of I'm constantly apologizing for our industry in the commercial realm. But in answer to what was it, Rosalia's question, just like you would with the residential agent, you want to wrap your head around, for instance, this multifamily. Does your buyer, are they qualified? Is this the first time they're going to buy? They're looking to buy an investment property. Like, find out, because the mortgages for commercial are much different than residential. And so you really should qualify your clients. Bruce and I and the other agents, we like to wrap our heads around what exactly you're bringing us. So yeah, questions are great, but I'm not really interested in your brother-in-law selling a barber shop. You know what I mean? Like, there's bigger and better things to do. But there's also a lot of retail office out there that you guys can do, and reach out. We're here to help you with those questions. That was basically it.
To piggyback Nico, remember, guys, girls, it's not about the size. If it's small or large, it doesn't matter. There's a fit for everything. I know people in our market center that love the commercial tenants that are 1,000 to 3,000 square feet, where everyone's like, oh, that's not something big. I'll jump on that too. You know why? What I learned back in a long time ago in the beginning of real estate is that one rental led to one of the largest sales that I saw in a broker, and I couldn't believe how it happened. And it happened to somebody that I know. It happened to my father as a broker when he rented an apartment to somebody's daughter, and then all of a sudden sold $18 million deal to them. So you don't know where you're getting anybody's attention. It could be the person that you're helping there. That good energy flows. So do not underestimate a small deal versus large. I really encourage you to understand the person and their needs, and then get a valued relationship to trust, because you'll do more deals year over year over year with that person. It's not a residential deal where they're selling every 7 years or whatever the trends say. They're doing business transactions constantly. So if you can be ahead of that, you can get a few of those deals every year that are coming. It's just like pipeline business. So stay locked in with the good ones, and shed away the bad ones.
No doubt.
all right.
Yeah.
I think on that
Well
note,
said, Nick.
great advice from both of you. Really appreciate it. Bruce, thanks so much for your time today. And we'll be looking out. If you can share, once you have dates, we have a lot of anxious people who want to come and attend your class in person. Let us know, and we'll get that out to everyone. Thanks again. Thanks to all of you who join us every week. Really appreciate you being learning based.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.
You too. Just from us to you, we thank you for everything that you do as well.
Thank you, Bruce. Bye.
Okay.